Recognize that your mental health is so important. If you don't, then I promise you'll be so distorted. Stiffened by your thoughts, that's a mental rigor mortis. I'm on a hard mission and it won't be aborted. Assorted memories will seem to be your remedy, but in your darkest hour, form into your enemies. Trust your gut, judge people off their energy. Cut them off quick and fast, they are limiting.
You're listening to the Expect Effect podcast, where the concept of self-care is our primary focus. Consider this an acknowledgement of feeling the birth of every great idea within you. This is your weekly dose of me time, and I'm your host, It's Just Nakia. You can find me at It's Just Nakia on Instagram and Facebook. We also have personal pages dedicated to the show at the Expect Effect podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Listen, we know that life is hard, but we believe that self-care doesn't have to be. So kudos to you for continued focus on self. And I want you to sit back, relax, and unwind as we together uncover ways to truly expect better, do better, and believe better. Man, listen. I don't even have the words. Just know that I'm very, very glad you're here, and I'm very glad to be here with you. This week, we're talking about the art, the ability of feeling empowered, and how to recognize your inner beauty and define sexiness on your own terms. I'm every woman. It's all in me. Anything you want done, baby, I do it naturally. We have Olesha Haskett here, and knowing your worth means understanding that you're allowed to change the price of what it costs to access you. We are going to, again, talk about defining sexiness and beauty all on your own terms, not terms created by society, by your parents, by your friends, by anyone else that you may idolize or look up to, or any other thing, statement thereof. We're going to talk about increasing confidence while successfully decreasing self-doubt, eliminating comparison, in owning words of affirmation, and we're going to really disown negative energy. So I want you to sit back, get comfortable, grab some popcorn, tell your husband to get away. It is what it is. Social media is off right now. It is you and you alone working to become the best version of self. We're going to talk about how you can have real boundaries, next steps, future outlines from past to present. You're going to know how to navigate any and everything that comes your way when it comes to recognizing your inner beauty and truly defining what it means to be sexy, to be vibrant, to be everything that women, I think, in some form or fashion aspire to be on a subliminal level, which is wanted. You know, you want your confidence recognized. You want somebody to say, like, look, she walking that walk. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you really want to feel exuberant in that right. So we're really going to dive into that and what that looks like, and communities that have been created, and I'm sure we'll see many more communities like it, to help not only women feel empowered in this right, but women of color. So sit back. You're going to hear a quick announcement, quick little advertisement, and then we're going to be right back with Olesha Haskett stepping into full effect. This is I'm Every Woman. You may not have gotten the countdown. That does happen sometimes. So
okay, I did.
You can give yourself, no, you're okay. You can give yourself like a 3-second and then just get started, and I'll pick up.
Okay. Hello, my name is Olesha Haskett, and I empower Black women to define their version of sexy through boudoir photography.
Define their version of sexy. Before we go any further, how would you define, what is your definition thereof?
For me personally, I define sexy as confidence. You have to have a level of confidence to understand, you know, for me, sexy is red lips and a t-shirt or nothing at all. And so I'm not into, you know, the lingerie, the heavy made up face. For me, it's just literally t-shirt, if it's a red lip or no lip at all, or just being naked. Like for that, to me, the body is sexy. Just the body that you are born with, that you work on, whatever that is, our curves, our lumps. That to me is what is most sexy.
I really love the emphasis that you put on there, and understanding that definition is really done on an individual level. What you feel. Some people do feel like it's lingerie or, heavy face. Some people feel like it's nothing at all. Some people have a very simplistic undertone. To some people, sexiness lies not even in necessarily what you see versus what you feel in a moment. So what led you to operating in this field? What led you to wanting to help women feel more empowered and confident in this way? Because I'll be honest, I feel like there is a difference in versus the empowering and confident boosters that you see that are geared towards making you feel better per se, maybe as a human, as a person, as a mother or a student or a Black woman that's, progressing towards her dreams. But the buildup of making you feel good for being sexy on your own terms, not by societal standards or what you feel or see around you, is a very unique thing for me to see, especially from a woman of color. So it was very exciting for me to encounter you on Instagram in this way. But what led you here?
Well, for me, it was a breakup, and I had to really identify who I was as a woman because I didn't know. Because I had been with my ex-husband from like 18 to 30. So I had to really come from a place of, what am I doing now? Like, what am I doing? I have all this knowledge. I have all these things that are happening, and I just needed something to really ground myself. And so my degree is in photography. And I decided I had stopped for a while. And I remember when I used to do, boudoir sessions, how it really made me feel and how it made the person who I was photographing feel, to see themselves in that way, to see themselves as sexy, even if it was just for, an hour. And it really lend itself to how I feel that our power as Black women is sometimes stripped from us. And so I wanted to do something that allowed us to really gain that power back. And when I started, I was shooting, everyone. And then from there, I really went into boudoir exclusively in 2017. And then around maybe 6 months after I really started getting into it again, even more, I really decided to just focus on Black women, because I was in other programs or in other educational spaces where boudoir was the main, photography that was discussed, but we didn't talk about diversity. They talked about inclusion when it came to, sizes. Like, you wanted to make sure that you had women of all sizes. But it really wasn't about, okay, do you have women of all colors? Do you have Black women? Do you have Indian women? Do you have Asian women? Like, who do you have?
That's powerful. Yeah, like who's actually the representation here.
And I found that wasn't the case. And so for me, I'm a problem solver. If I see something that I can address, I want to tackle it right away. And so I realized that wasn't happening. And of course, I had pushback because people were like, oh, you have to take pictures of everybody because you're not going to make any money, But for me, my passion has always been allowing other women to see themselves as powerful. And to understand that a lot of times we try to talk about, it has to come from within, which is true. But if you physically don't feel sexy, you don't feel that confidence, even if you are, you have it on the inside, if you don't see that on the outside, it does affect how you walk, how you dress, how you talk, what you allow people to do for you, or what you allow people that will come into your life and treat you in certain ways because you don't feel worthy enough. So I really wanted to focus on Black women because I felt that there was a very, very big need that wasn't being addressed.
That's powerful because honestly, I mean, and I'm 24 years old. I haven't seen a whole bunch of the world, but in respects to even when I think about the way I grew up in a way and structure that had a very solid definition from the older generation of Black women that I grew up under of what beauty standards were and what they considered acceptable and what they deemed right. And then I feel like it does follow you into relationship, right? If you lack that at a certain level, or if it's even developed in relationship, you go into relationships and you have whatever definition they place on you, and then in being single, having to figure out what that looks like for yourself. So I appreciate you sharing that, because that, I think, is an immediate point a lot of people can relate to. And then being a woman of color, I think there are different objectives placed on us in a variety of situations, and many of those can leave us feeling inadequate on a beauty standard. So I think that's really, really intense. And then to see your page, I hadn't even considered it. I'm a person who, I've had such a complex with myself. Like, it's only recently, I think in recent years, that I've even become more comfortable taking pictures. So then, like, to see this idea presented of photos being taken of you in an element that allows you to feel more open was mind-blowing. How are you able to bring your clients into a space where they do feel more comfortable and more open? Like, what really draws the vault in those moments?
Conversation. A lot of times what happens is, as you know, Black women, we always talk about being strong. And that to me is something that really doesn't allow us to express all the versions of ourselves. So when we have to continuously put on this strong, you know, front, like I'm this person, if everything happens, I have to come and fix it. And sometimes people don't want to do that. And they're afraid to say, I'm not strong. Like, I'm not that person. And I give women a space to really identify that and say, you know, no, I'm not this person all the time. I don't even want to be this person, you know, on a daily basis, but I have to. And so we have those conversations, and I really find out who they are as, you know, as women, outside of what society tells them they are, outside of being mothers, outside of being, you know, caregivers, spouses. I really find out who they are, like what makes them tick, what makes them feel beautiful, what makes them feel sexy, what really gives them joy, because it's not the same for everyone. So I really do want to understand, you know, who they are. So when they do come in for the session itself, we have that level of understanding of, okay, I'm going to make you feel like the very goddess that you are, but you have to trust me enough to listen to the things I'm saying. So that way, when I put you in certain poses, certain positions, you know that I'm doing this in a way that's going to make you feel beautiful and not, you know, crazy. Because some of the poses are a little bit crazy. So that's why I do them first. But I want them to just trust me enough to know that A, I'm going to do what I know is best for your body based on what you've already told me. And B, I want you to understand that you have control in this situation. So everything that I'm doing is based off what you've already told me and what we've discussed. So if is there any time when we are shooting that you don't feel like you're in control, then we'll stop. And then we'll, you know, go through the motions and we'll talk about it. But then once you're ready, we continue again. And I think that's something that a lot of times Black women don't get. So I want to give them that space to feel like I am in control of everything that's happening and I'm fine.
I love that you said that, because just going off of the last point first, an aspect of control. I can't tell you how many times or in how many instances I've had to, or how hard it can be coming to terms or feeling like you don't have control of a situation, or feeling like you have constantly been in submission mode majority of your life to some degree. So then you open this door in this avenue to say, like, the minute you think it's not okay, we're going to say it's not okay. And that is powerful, because in so many instances, there can be an objectification thereof, leaving us to feel like we owe someone something, like we have something to prove, or narratives that we have to talk down against, or, you know, stigmas that have been placed on us. We're constantly, I feel like, in offense mode and also defense mode. We have to be like, what did Olivia Pope's father say? You have to work twice as hard as they do, you know, to get half the shine. So it's like we're constantly in offensive mode, but also defensive mode, because the world can be so cruel. So for you to create a space of just opening and belonging and welcoming, that is super powerful. And then going back to the very top, defining people outside of their respective roles and kind of walking them through that in conversation. Do you mind kind of telling me, or like providing an example, if you will, of how you would coach someone out of I'm thinking of me even, like I'm coming in real shy off top. I'm telling you, like real shy, you know? So it's like, hey friend, you know, I hear I'm picking up what you're putting down, but how do we really get to cooking? You know, like, so what happens in that moment?
So the first point of contact outside of myself is my makeup artist, Danisha Felder. And we've built a relationship that if you saw us and you interact with us, anyone who comes into the studio knows, they're like, how long have you been friends? Like, how long have you known each other? Because she is that person who, when you come in, you're sitting in the studio space. We may chat for a little bit, and then you go into the room. I have a separate room that you get dressed and get makeup done. And we sit and we have a conversation. Like, all of us will sit, the three of us will sit and talk. And we talk about everything from, politics to celebrity gossip. And it's just a way for the person who's coming in. I call my clients my beauties. It's a way for them to come in and just feel like it's a girl talk, because that's really what I want. I want you to come in and be like, okay, this is my sister's house. Like, I can see myself here just chilling, drinking a glass of wine or whatever your preferred beverage is, and just enjoying yourself. So that actually allows, the clients, the beauties, to let their guard down, because they're like, I am in a space where I'm comfortable. Like, I'm sitting, I'm talking, we're chatting. Like, this person is exactly who she is on her lives, on her, in her Facebook group. When I talk to her on the phone, like, this is exactly who she is. Because I'm a naturally silly person. I can be very reserved, but I'm a naturally silly person when I'm really trying to set that tone, set that mood for how the session is going to be. Like, I don't want a person to come in and feel like I have to put on airs, I have to put on this facade because this person is going to judge me. So I really try to make it as comfortable as possible with the mood music, diffuser going with certain, blends of scents, and really try to make sure that when you are coming in, you're like, okay, this is a place where I can be myself. I don't have to do anything but be myself.
Man, there's so much that I could unpack there. Oh, I'm hidden desk and things. Forgive me, y'all. But there's so much that I could unpack there. The biggest takeaway for me really lies in the fact that you make it a space that feels familiar. No matter who you are, there's this consistent energy, right? The energy they've gotten from your lives, from your Facebook, from talking on the phone. Now they're here in person. Mm-hmm. And your energy is so consistent. It allows the door, when you do present, this is my makeup artist, there's that first build of rapport in person.
Yeah.
And it's like, from that build up, they've had to go off and say, okay, I'm going to trust this thing. I've done enough to book the session. Now I'm going to roll with her on this. And then you create this safe space in this environment where they realize that everybody they have to deal with can be in the same room at one time. And they have an opportunity to get comfortable and engage and feel like everything's on the same page. So that's amazing, because it's a real life experience that you're bringing forward for people, which I think is phenomenal when we talk about being able to increase that confidence and decrease self-doubt in those situations. However, people are going to leave and the sessions are going to be over. Mm-hmm. What are some ways that you help, or you feel like you encourage people to continue holding on to the feelings that they've maybe gained or experienced in the session?
One of the things that I do is I have a journal, which I usually don't promote as much, but I have a journal that I wrote, which was really from my experience of getting to learn and love myself and who I was, at that time, after, being with this person for over 10 years and really defining who I was right now. And so what I usually do is I will give them a copy of that. I'll put it, like, I give a little gift thing together. I put it together based on their preferences. And then I will put that in there. And it's a workbook. It's actually a workbook that will go through different parts or phases of a healing cycle. So you start from affirmations, telling yourself how much you love yourself. It gives you ways to start that process, like looking in the mirror, writing your poem about yourself. It talks about boundaries, and I give you information about how to create boundaries. It also goes through, once you've gone through this process, like, what are the next steps? What do you want to see for yourself? How do you see yourself, in 5 years? What do you look like? Have you gone to therapy? What is a job or career that you wanted? Do you now have it? What is the amount of money that you wanted to make? Have you started that business that you wanted to start? So it really lends itself to this whole, woman healing self with what you have already provided for you, because everything you need to heal yourself is already there. And a lot of my clients will tell me things about the things that they've gone through in their lives that brought them to me, because that's usually what happens. They'll say, I've been wanting to do this for years, but I just didn't feel like I was attractive enough, or, I had so many things happen to my body that now I feel like I can show my body and be comfortable with it. So I don't take those things lightly. I thank them when they give me that experience to say, I appreciate you coming to me. I appreciate you really telling me that I've been through these things in my life, and this is the next step on my journey. And so with that, I always want to give them something that really allows them to continue on that journey. Because to me, my boudoir is just a step on the journey. It's not even the last part. It may be the beginning, but it's from there, what else are you able to do to continue with that journey?
That's amazing. So it's the first step, and then for you to equip them with that information. I think it's really powerful that you did write a journal and then, turn it into something that became a healing cycle full of affirmations, walking people through setting up boundaries, next steps, future outlines in comparison of past to present. I don't even have words for it because it's almost surreal. Like, I think depending on, the age you are, the progression that you are in your journey, or your life experiences, even when I think about, I splitting up or going through breakups or leaving home, or things that have propelled me to feel less than, and the steps that it took me to get back there, knowing like something like this could exist, or, having a program or this avenue is really, really powerful. What is one thing you find from the stories you've heard, that continues to I know everybody has a difficult moment. I don't care how much you love what you do. I think everybody hits a wall sometimes.
Yes.
What for you, did that look like, and how did you overcome it?
I think the biggest thing really honestly was when I decided just to focus on Black women. It was a journey for me because, as we see, when Black women really try to identify their sexuality, sometimes it could be that people take that in a negative and they want to dictate to us how we should feel, how we should show our bodies. And then it's always this tug of war with you want to be modest, but you don't want to be too modest because you can't be a sexual being, but you want to show that you are sexy. So as all of that was really taken into play, and trying to figure out, what is my voice? How am I going to get this across to Black women to let them know that this is something that is out there for you, and you can do this and not feel like, oh, I am going against, your spiritual beliefs, or I'm going against what my partner will like. I still have clients who will say, oh, I can't get my pictures, blown up because I don't know what my partner is going to say, or I don't know, I don't want my children to see me that way. And so there's still those moments where you are fighting against this, I guess, mindset of, what Black women, Black mothers, are supposed to be, Black wives are supposed to be. And so I really sometimes have to fight. It's hard because I understand, the journey that I've gone through and how I've come out on the other side. And sometimes when you have to fight against that within someone else, it's a losing battle because they have to do the work themselves. And so sometimes that's I will say, probably the hardest part, when you see someone who is just glowing, they're beautiful. And then, you may see them a little bit later, or you see them, or they email you, and you're worried about, or they're worried about, what if someone says something, or what if they see their pictures and they don't like them. And sometimes it's not even about me as a photographer, it's their perception of their body. And that's the hardest part, is trying to get someone to understand that as they are made at this moment in their life, they are beautiful. And that, I think, is something that all women deal with. But I think for Black women, it's a little bit more nuanced, because a lot of people will have our features, but they don't like us. So that's always, trying to work against that.
I think you hear often, there are younger Black men who are viewed as adults and younger Black women who are viewed as adults, right? And over-sexualized. And it happens so much more frequently in communities of color, where their youth are overburdened with the perception and ideologies that are around them of what they should be, what they should look like, and what they should do. And I can't even imagine, on one hand and scale, you also have to deal with the fact that there are constantly these conversations happening, right? Constantly the conversations of what is acceptable for you, what should you be doing, can your hair look like this in the workplace? What? It's the strangest thing. There are so many conversations around the look thereof when it comes to Black people and what we're doing or how we're doing it or the way we're doing it, and is it acceptable, and people immediately sometimes take abrasiveness when you come into the room or walk into a situation. So to really have this area and this space that allows you to break down and just be who you are without any preconceived notions, without saying this is the wife I need to be, the mother I need to be, the daughter I need to be. I just need to be myself. I just need to be happy in this space, and I just need to enjoy this moment. I think that is really, really powerful. And I thank you for everything that you've shared with us on this episode in terms of defining, yes, absolutely, how to set up a perspective of self that really says I am everything that I say I am and everything that I believe myself to be and would desire myself to be. What is one thing you would, just kind of tell anyone starting their journey to trying to understand themselves post anything? I think we never stop going through cycles or phases of change in life that will lead us in ways of growth, but there are without question moments that change us in ways we definitely did not anticipate having to deal with, like divorce or death or a loss of a job. What is a way you would tell somebody to kind of get started if they're just trying to figure out how to love themselves a little more?
I think the first thing is you have to figure out what brings you joy. And it could be the smallest thing. Like it doesn't matter what it is. It's just you have to really write down the things that really make you happy and bring you joy. And then you should really focus on those things. You should focus on putting more of those things that you love, that bring you happiness, that bring you joy, that bring you peace into your life, because you'll start to cultivate those things. And then what will happen is the things that don't really run parallel to those things, you'll slowly start to phase them out of your life, because what will happen is you'll start to love that feeling of peace. You'll start to love those feelings of joy, of happiness. And so you start to realize that, okay, this person or these situations really are not allowing me to be in those moments where I feel those type of feelings. So I don't want it anymore.
Girl, I hadn't come off mute. I have got to quit doing that. But I really feel like, for me personally, like I felt that on so many levels, because even me, I feel like I'm really just starting the process of self-care, which is funny because I have this show and we do all of this, but I feel like there is always a season that causes for an evolution and a change. And you recognize when something has to shift, I think, when you're trying to be tuned in with yourself. So even now I tell myself, like, it's like you said, just recognizing that I like peace. I don't really like to be bothered with much else, right? Like, I'm just starting to accept and embrace things that are more positive, that are more uplifting, and that are just more on the wavelength of what I want to do. And then I find that energy is being attracted to me. Right? Yes, like those things really are falling off and the better things are coming. So thank you so much for that. Let the people know one time just where they can find you, how they can get in touch with you. I know if it's me, I'm trying to book an appointment. So how can they do it?
So I can be found on Instagram at O Experience. That's OH Experience. All of my information is actually there in the link in the bio, where you are actually able to contact me on all of my platforms, from Facebook to my other Boudoir for Black Women, O Empower. Everything is on O Experience.
Okay, dang, I did it again. I'm gonna have to cut that. That's fine. It's fine.
No
but
problem.
Thank you guys so much for listening. This has been another week of expecting better, doing better, and believing better. I'm your host. It's Just Nakia. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at It's Just Nakia. We also have personal pages dedicated to the show at the Expect Effect Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. And please get tuned in with our blog pages and weekly releases there. You can find the link in our show page bio at the Expect Effect Podcast. We always keep you up to date. Remember, life is hard, but self-care doesn't have to be.